Good morning, y'all. Taylor with y'all 106.7. Today we are joined by singer, songwriter, entertainer, Mr. Tommy Townsend. Welcome to y'all.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Got my
Good.
cup of coffee. How are you doing?
I'm good. I am good.
Well, you got the sunglasses on inside, so I already know you're going to be a cool dude, you know?
Yeah. Well, I have some
part
eye,
of your
eye
look.
problems. Well, yeah, and so when I take them off, everybody was, "Where's your sunglasses?"
There we go. Well, speaking of sunglasses inside, Eric Church, Chiefs on Broadway,
Yeah.
his new venue, Neon Steeple. It is very cool. It's kind of like a mini Ryman Auditorium, but you are playing there tomorrow night.
Yes.
Tell me about that show
Yeah,
with
it's
Waymore's Outlaws,
Waymore's
huh?
Outlaws, which is former members of Waylon Jennings' band, and so they got back together several years ago, and we toured with Shooter for a few years, and a bunch of other people, and now there's this show called Running with Old Waylon that's kind of like I guess you'd say it's kind of like a live documentary that Waylon kind of narrates. And it's all video and stuff, and him telling stories and the band telling stories, and it kind of weaves in and out of his career. And it's been really fun to do. We've played here. We've done the City Winery a couple times with it, and we've taken it around different places. Jesse's done it a couple times with us, Jesse Coulter, and so it's a lot of fun.
Well, your story is very interesting because you met Waylon at a young age, and he kind of took you under his wing. You'll tell the story way better than me.
Yeah, my parents were fans of Waylon, and I met him when I was about 13 or 14 down in Georgia at a show, and then I kind of, started liking his music because my sister, she was like, she's older than me. She was into that 70s rock, and she was actually my 7th grade school teacher. So I remember her taking me to school and her listening to, like Fleetwood Mac and Steve Miller Band and all that stuff. And I fell somewhere in the middle of it, and Waylon was kind of in the middle of that at that time. So yeah, Hell's Angels used to do security for Waylon, and my mom and dad got to talking to one of them one night and said, our son really likes Waylon. And he said, well, Waylon really loves kids, so meet us down here and we'll take Tommy back there to meet him. So that's how it all began. And I just got to know all the band and the crew and everything. And then later on, Waylon and his bass player and producer, Jerry Bridges, they took me in the studio and started working with me. And we recorded stuff up to the late 90s, and then it never came out. And then Waylon passed away in 2002, and the album came out 2 years ago on Audium Records. Waylon's playing on it and singing on it. Marty Stewart's on it, playing
Southern
on
Man?
it. Southern Man, yeah. And that's done really well. So anyway, it's that, that's kind of how it all started,
That's so cool to hear Waylon on your track, Southern Man. You even have like a Waylon introduction where he's introducing you.
Yeah.
That's so cool
I would
have that
go
audio.
out with him, back then, and do those songs every once in a while, and then Waylon would let me sing, "Mamas Don't Let Your Babies Grow to Be Cowboys" with him, or "Good Hearted Woman" or something too. So I always said I started at the top and worked my way down.
I mean, these are unreleased Waylon songs that people have never heard. So what has the reaction been like since you put it out?
Well, those on the Southern Man album are not. They're actually written by different writers. There's one on there that Waylon and Troy Seals did write called "Trouble with a Capital T," but they were written by like Roger Murrah and Fred Knobloch and like I said Troy Seals and all these writers. Dean Dillon. I can remember in the studio, and I was just I was just green as could be at that time, and Roger Murrah coming by the studio, and Dean Dillon had dropped by and stuff like that, and I was too young to actually really know who they were at
Man,
that
to be a fly on the wall, right?
Yeah, I'd like to go back to that time, and just say, I know who all you guys are now.
Right? Oh, wow. Well, you also put out an album, Turn Back the Clock, that Shooter, Waylon's son, produced.
Yeah, that came out in 2018. And we went in, and that was the time that we were touring with Shooter, and Shooter, now is producing a lot of big records, and so I guess I was one of the first ones that he did, and he wanted to produce me, and And it's funny, when we were out with him touring, we would do our thing, and then we were Shooter's band. So I always liked being both. I like to play guitar and sing harmony too. And so it's so funny. There was never no egos there. Who's going to sing what? And Shooter was like, "Why don't you start singing a song during my set?" And I'm like, "No, that's your thing." I said, "I like being the guitar player and the harmony singer." And he said, "Well, I like it when you sing, and I like to play guitar with you." So anyway, that started the it being produced by him, because we did that actually in L.A. With some players out there, and did some of it here too.
He's been doing a lot of cool stuff.
He has.
Tucker.
Yeah.
Is there any similarities? Because you worked with Waylon and now you're working with Shooter. So what's like the similarities and difference there? Does he remind you of his dad at all?
He does. He has a lot of his dad's mannerisms, and he knows his way around the studio like his dad did. And so I just remember when we were recording it, and stuff he would say and things he would do is kind of like Waylon.
So what is a live show like if someone's coming to see the Waymore Outlaws?
Well, it's with this running with old Waylon, it's all Waylon songs, and it goes back. I mean, it starts. Some of the songs are back in the late '60s when he started, and it goes up till probably the mid '80s, late '80s. Rose in Paradise, that record, and so it just it starts out Waylon narrating the show, and then we just break into Are You Ready for the Country? And Carter Robertson. She was Waylon's backup singer, and Barney, her husband's piano player. So she sings that, and we all take turns singing. It's not just me all the time. So and that's what I like about it. And we do The Weight by the band, and we all take a part in it. And because I think that was one of the ones that they used to sing before Waylon would come out on stage back in the 70s. And then we do Drift Away, Dobie Gray. We all take a part on that. And so it's a ton of fun.
That sounds like a good time. We can't wait.
Yeah.
Chiefs on Broadway. There's still time to get tickets at chiefsonbroadway.com. I got to know what your favorite Waylon song is. Mine's Come With Me.
Boy, that's a good one. Mm-hmm. I like Don't Y'all Think This Outlaw Bit's Done Got Out of Hand. That one is good. I like Lonesome, Ornery, and Mean. There's several of them I like just for different reasons. Uh-huh.
It's kind of crazy to think, thanks Mama for going up against Hell's Angels and
exactly
saying
right.
my son is a fan of Waylon, and
exactly
then
right.
This career, that's just incredible.
And that was in the mid '80s, and what was so funny is my mom and dad I was gone back there with him for probably 30 or 45 minutes, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, what happened to him?"
So tell us a Waylon story. I know you have a bunch, but if there's just one where you think of him and smile, like a good memory, what do you think of?
Well, one night I was going out to play with them, and so I had my guitar. The guitar tech was there, and he said, "Tommy," he said, "Waylon's not going to call you out till about halfway through the show." He goes, "I'll put some new strings on your guitar." And I said, "Well, that'd be cool." So 3 songs into Waylon's show, he calls me out. And the guitar tech only had 2 strings on my guitar. And so he said, "Just use Waylon's guitar." So here I walk out on stage, and, Waylon's pretty tall. And I said, "Waylon, I need to use your guitar." He said, "Huh?" I said, "I need to use your guitar." I said, "David only has like 2 strings on mine." And he said, "Well, this friendship shit's just going too far." And then he laughed, and he gave me his guitar, and he said, "Here you go, Hoss, have fun." Yeah. So,
what's mine is yours.
Yeah,
I love it. Mm-hmm. So, who else were your musical influences? Obviously, we got some Waylon in there. But who did you grow up listening to?
Hank Williams Jr. Loved his stuff. Mm-hmm. My dad was a big bluegrass guy, so I was, listening to Bill Monroe and the Osborne Brothers and Ralph Stanley. And then, like I say, with my sister into the 70s rock, I listened to Fleetwood Mac and Steve Miller Band, and I would actually like to do a 70s rock album and turn it, because there's a lot of those songs that you could do country.
Oh yeah.
Now, so I've got a few in mind. I just need to get in the studio and do them.
Oh, we can't wait to hear them. Maybe we'll be sipping a little moonshine because you have a distillery in Georgia.
I do.
Tell me about that.
Well, yeah, that all kind of came about by accident, but just a fluke conversation that I had with a friend of mine in California. And so my grandfather was a famous moonshiner, and back a long time ago, and I don't remember him, but me and my friend Jack got to talking about moonshine and stuff, and I said, yeah, I said my grandfather was a famous moonshiner, and he said, well, can you get your hands on the recipe? And I said, well, I don't know. I said, I've just heard stories all my life about it. And so Jack is a financial guru in Anaheim, and so next day I was getting ready to fly back to Nashville, and I said, was you serious about that? And he said, yeah. So it just kind of, everything just sort of fell into place. I called my mom. It was my mom's dad. And I called her, and I said, do you know anything about Mimi's Moonshine? And my grandfather's name is Jack McClure, but the grandkids called him Mimi or Mim or whatever. And so she said, well, I don't really know, because she was the youngest child. She said, all I remember is people were coming in the house at night buying liquor, and there's just all kinds of stuff going on back then. And my mom and dad, which they never drank a drop in their life, said, well, call your Uncle George, said he helped him make it before he went into service. So I called my Uncle George, and he said, sure. I said, there never was a written down recipe, but I know exactly what we did. And so he emailed that to me, and one thing led to another. We found a distributor in Georgia that put it out, and at that time we had just a distillery down in Middle Georgia contracted to make it and bottle it. And so it got started in Georgia, and then the laws started changing about tastings and doing all this stuff. And so 2016, all the county officials wanted me to put a distillery in Blairsville, Georgia, which is around the Tennessee-North Carolina border. And we did, and the hobby turned into, we're now distributed in 6 states, and it is a full-blown business. Now I don't know which one's the hobby.
Yeah. That you might be the coolest person I've ever met. I mean, we got these Waylon Jennings stories. You're a moonshiner. I'm like, what else you hiding up your sleeve there?
I don't make it. I can make it, but I don't. I'm not there every day, but yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Is it pretty stout? Does it have a kick to it?
Well, we have one that's 140 proof. Wow. Which is actually our biggest seller. Okay. And then we have the flavors that are a little bit more like liqueur or something. But yeah,
we got to get some of that from the y'all studio.
Well, we will get you some.
Yeah, start slurring in my interviews. But
yeah.
Well, I know you're going to play a song for us today. What are we gonna play?
I don't know. What do y'all want to hear? One of
your go-to.
My go-to song?
Yeah.
Well, we can do a Waylon song or do one of my songs.
Why don't we do 2? Why don't we do one of each?
That'd be great.
Let's do it.
Let's do that.
All right. And Tommy, what is the best way to keep up with you? Instagram, website?
Yeah, everything's Tommy Townsend Music, with Facebook, with Instagram. The website's TommyTownsendMusic.com. And you can actually get the Southern Man album. Of course, it's on all the streaming platforms. And you can get it on vinyl.
Ooh, I got to get it.
And we'll get you that, too. So, yeah, you can go to TommyTownsendMusic.com and get that. Craig, where else can you get the album? Is it in Amazon? I think Amazon has the album, too. Okay, yeah.
All right, go to TommyTownsendMusic.com to learn more. This is Y'all 106.7. Let's kick off this performance.